In today's society, there is a well-established prestige pathway for young people looking to put a dent into the universe. It is invisible to 90% of the population, but its influence permeates entire economies. You watching this channel, we must assume you have huge ambitions, psychopathic tendencies, or both, and want to double down. Great! There is a couple of things that can bring you down. One of them is not being aware of the prestige hierarchies around you and falling into the prestige trap yourself. Let's avoid that. The following tier list might be the most important concept you digest this week. And it's fun to look at. There have been numerous attempts and discussions on industry forums with the final goal of establishing a universally accepted prestige ranking of career options, none of which led to the desired result. Receiving countless requests by fans and admirers, I decided therefore that it is on me to create this ranking. Thoroughly researched, universally valid, based. Bulge bracket. While you might not be familiar with the term bulge bracket, you might have heard of banks like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Citi. Students go through lengthy processes of Spring Insights, internships at lower tier banks, and networking with uninspiring senior bankers in order to join the investment banking departments of bulge bracket banks. But even though graduates would literally sell their soul, I'm not even kidding, okay? In order to get a full-time offer at their favorite investment bank, most leave after 1 to 3 years to pursue the next evolution step in the tier list, which we will discuss later. The work itself consists of relatively little direct client contact as well as a lot of Excel monkey work. While you might think being able to handle Excel without using your mouse might impress chicks at a party, you are wrong. This decreases the prestige score, but who cares about the work content if you earn a lot of money with it? I'm serious, by the way. And investment banking offers entry-level salaries that would allow entire villages in Africa to survive for years. Bulge bracket takes the B tier. Exceptions for Deutsche Bank, which takes the C tier. MBB. The acronym standing for the consulting firms McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. There have been countless attempts to amend the acronym and add a letter in order to join this prestigious circle, with little success. The only exception being MBB Plus, also encompassing firms such as Oliver Wyman with similar business profiles and consultant rates. In my video, Prestige Trap, we have talked about these firms extensively. Now, while MBB and so on are quite popular among young business students looking to keep their options open upon graduation, most people outside of the business world have never heard about firms like Bain, thus decreasing the prestige factor significantly, especially when compared to bulge bracket banks that are usually much more prominent on news channels.
Firms are going to go out of business and he's nuts! They're nuts! They know nothing!
Also, there's concerns about the work content of consulting. On the next family gathering, what do you want to brag to your uncle about? Having aligned and vertically distributed 3 text boxes on a PowerPoint slide? Communicating in a messy way? I don't think so. MBB takes the C tier. Private equity. Most people think that getting into bulge bracket or MBB is the pinnacle of prestige. They dream about telling their grandsons tales about how they cracked the final case during their BCG interviews. Until something happens. They hear about this profession that supposedly numerous ex-consultants and bankers leave to after 2 to 3 years of monkey work. Private equity. If investment banking or consulting is Connor, then PE is undoubtedly Within the PE industry, the most prestigious player is arguably Blackstone, dominating the league like a male identifying as a female at the weightlifting competition. Getting into Blackstone is like well, just insert a funny wordplay here, okay? While similar to consulting, you also have the problem of 90% of the population not having a single clue what the hell private equity is. You have more to talk about. Buying companies, firing employees, over-leveraging deals to the tits through complicated financial engineering generally sounds very impressive to anyone listening. PE is an A tier. VC. VC seems to be mildly prestigious. Not a single day passes where I do not receive a LinkedIn message by a young person telling me that their ultimate goal is to get into VC and asking me how they should do it. Now, I don't want to get too sentimental here. You can skip this if it hits your feels too much, but I think this is a good point to outline my journey with prestige throughout my career. It was a play in 4 acts: ignorance, temptation, damage, and recovery. Most of you watching this video have a rough idea about the prestige traps lurking out there, but many others will only discover them in some years, and I was one of them. Now, what happened next was the beginning of an irreversible development that all of you are going through right now too. I started working at Roland Berger mostly because they promoted such an entrepreneurial culture, and I wanted to be able to scale my side business in parallel. A final interview I had with McKinsey Warsaw, for example, I cancelled without going. I simply didn't care. But listening to colleagues, interacting with friends from other banks and consulting firms, it slowly became apparent that prestige does play a role. And the more I learned, the more I got sucked in. The deeper I went, the more it damaged my thoughts. Sure, maybe I could manage to get into Bain's PE practice after my current job, but would I be able to get into KKR or Carlyle afterwards? What if not? And should we all feel inferior to the guy who magically managed to get into Blackstone straight out of his undergraduate? What happens next is incredible. You start abolishing your ambitions for a career that is dictated by prestige. And trust me, I have many friends who dreamt of becoming successful founders and are stuck playing the prestige game, hopping from company to company. That's when I woke up. Never have I allowed anything or anyone to stand in between me and my ambitions. To be super honest, the next months were a constant mental struggle, but I slowly readjusted my inner compass away from external prestige factors towards what I should really care about: power and money. But back to the tier list. So, VC. Quintessentially, working in VC is YOLOing money professionally. We pretend like we know which startups are going to become unicorns. But Wall Street Bets degenerates also pretend to know which stocks are going to the moon. And the results are quite similar. On the bright side, if you do hit some unicorns, you have a financial upside that is unparalleled to any other profession. Finally, and because PE and VC is now essentially becoming the same, VC has to take the A tier too. Big Four. The Big Four: Deloitte, EY, PwC. Oh, and KPMG. While the business community is well aware that you didn't get invited to interviews with MBB+, the general plebs are not. They have most likely heard about Deloitte or EY more often than about McKinsey, probably through some of the scandals they have been involved in. But hey, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? Because we still have quite some space on the lower tiers, and the Big Four entry-level salary will not even allow you to pay your apartment in London. Big Four is D tier. However, keep in mind that when incorporating pay per hour into the ranking, Big Four could very well be a solid B tier. Founder. There's just one parameter here. Did you raise VC funding, yes or no? If yes, and you secured a TechCrunch article for yourself, even if the business crashes next month, you are S tier. Haven't raised funding? generating more than $500,000 of free cash flow profit per month. Unfortunately, nobody cares. You are C tier. Lawyer. Essentially, you do the tedious legal work for bulge brackets and PE companies that nobody cares about. Or, as a friend working at KKR once told me, I only want them to give me a paper saying everything is fine. Go ahead with the deal. I'll take that paper, put it into a drawer, and hopefully don't need to interact with a lawyer again. The general population has no idea what the hell you're doing. Are you a fancy lawyer like they are shown in Suits, for example, or are you a lawyer defending pedophiles? Nobody knows and few will find out. As a lawyer in the world of business, you are D tier. Unless you secure one of the few off-cycle consigliere spots in the mafia business. Then you're S tier. As you know, I am quite active angel investing and I received many pitch decks of startups where I might invest in, so please keep them coming. You can get in touch through my website or my LinkedIn. And I'm usually super open to connecting and happy to interact with you. Unless you send me another connection request without a personal note. What the hell are you thinking? Who are you?